Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory. Today we're going to take a look at the Arktos Apprentice, who is going to be a VATS-Rifleman centered around using energy weapons, mainly plasma weapons. So first and foremost, let's take a look at our equipment. As you can see here, we do have an anti-armor faster fire rate plasma rifle. And for armor, we do have a mixed match set between scout armor and leather armor, which is going to have all the 4 pieces of regenerating, 2 pieces of action point refresh, and 1 piece of auto stim. So while we're talking about auto stim, let's take a look at our perks. So I quickly go over it for you because this is going to be in German and you're probably not able to translate that. So we're only going to have 2 strength, which we use for 2 ranks of the traveling pharmacy perk. In perception we have all the ranks of rifleman maxed out, and on top of that we do have 2 ranks of concentrated fire, which will be enough for our means. In endurance we only have 1, which we're going to use. This perk we're going to use for fireproof. Also only 1 point we do have in charisma, which we're going to use for tenderizer. So as you can see here, we already have 3 dump stats in the first 4 stats, which is very specialized, let's put it that way. So we're kind of a full health glass cannon build, which you will see in the gameplay. But our plan here is, as we highly specialized into intelligence, agility and luck, that we're going to stay alive using mainly stimpaks. So we do have basically 2 different fail safes at our character. The first will be our armor piece with auto stim, which is going to activate once we are going down to like 20% health. And the second failsafe, which is the one that's going to proc earlier, will be Born Survivor here, because we're going to have it at rank 2, which makes it activate at 30% health. So usually Born Survivor will be procced and we're out of trouble. And on the off chance we're in such a trouble that enemies going to out damage our health regeneration, we do have another piece of armor that will give us another stimpack. So true to the character and the whole science theme, we're going to stay alive by pumping our character basically full with stimpaks. Onto the build again. In intelligence, this will going to help. This is first aid. This simply makes our stimpaks a little bit more effective, and 1 rank will be enough, as you will see in the gameplay. This shouldn't be here. We want to have something different here, and that is Nerd Rage, sorry. So onto it. Here we have batteries included, which is necessary because, as you can see, we only have 2 strength, which will in all fairness be only 1 because of our mutations, which I'm going to show you later. So we can use some carry weight perks. You will see another later. Then we have Weaponsmith. This is for the sole reason that energy weapons have a tendency to break pretty quickly. It's not as bad with the plasma sniper rifle as, for example, with a scattershot laser rifle, but it's still noticeable enough that you definitely want Weaponsmith equipped. So it's just a convenience, especially as energy weapons tend to be quite expensive to repair. And our last perk, which I just equipped, as you could see, is Nerd Rage. While we're not planning to stay at low health most of the time, during our gameplay our health will basically bounce down and up again all the time. So this is like, you can basically view it as the 3rd threshold, the 3rd failsafe we're going to have. not only our Born Survivor and our Auto Stim perk armor, but also this. So this makes it that if we are in trouble, we have a little bit more damage threshold when we're at low health, which gives us a little bit more time to really make use out of our stimpaks. Onto agility, we do have Marathoner, which is a perk you're probably not seen very often on other character guides or anything, and that's because usually you don't really need it. It's not that necessary, but on this build we have the problem that we only have one endurance, and endurance makes it so that sprinting uses more or less AP, depending on how high it is. As it's only one in our build, we're going to take up a lot of AP when we're sprinting, which we can negate by using Marathoner. Our second perk in agility is Through Hiker, yet again one of these carry weight perks, which you're really gonna need. Like, as I said, you really have to manage your weight. You're also not going to carry a lot of stuff with you. Best case scenario, you're going to have some weapon weight reduction perks or junk weight reduction or anything alike. So our third perk is going to be Born Survivor rank 2, as I already showed you earlier. Then we do have Gun Fu at rank 3, and if everything is going according to plan, this will be very beneficial to us, giving us basically more damage when we can successfully chain VATS kills together. We only have one rank of Adrenaline, but this will be enough to give us just a little extra when using Gun Fu, as I said earlier. And the last perk we're going to have is Action Boy, for the obvious reason that we're going to stay in VATS like all the time when we're fighting, if we manage to do so. And if we're running out of action points, we simply want to back away from enemies a little bit and have action points refresh very quickly. Onto luck, we do have Grim Reaper Sprint. You will see this proc sometimes. It's good to have. It basically makes it so that every time you kill an enemy in VATS, you're going to have a chance to refresh your action points. And this, when it procs, can be really great. Like, you, especially when you're facing groups of enemies, like for example Scorched down at the Fisher side, you can basically chain together a lot of kills in VATS without ever going to leave. Next thing is critical hits do more damage. Then we do have 3 ranks of 4-leaf clover, which has a chance to every time refill our critical meter completely when we hit an enemy in VATS. Star's Genes, which is a no-brainer. We're going to have a few mutations, and maybe you will see that we don't have the perk that reduces the negatives from mutations, and that's simply because basically all the mutations we took will take debuffs to our endurance and strength and so on. As you will see later, this doesn't matter at all, because in Fallout 76 stats can't drop below 1. So yeah, we're losing out on 1 strength, which we would anyways. So it's not going to be that much of a problem, as we're going basically built for having such low stats in these stats. And the last perk is the no-brainer again. It's just Bloody Mess for a little extra damage, which is fine to have. We could use another VATS perk, for example, in this case, maybe like a Psychopath or something, but I feel like the permanent 50 damage boost is better. Anyways, onto the mutations. This will be the last thing before we're going to see some gameplay. As you can see here, I do have a Psycho addiction, but this isn't intentional, this just happened to be, and basically all we're going to lose is 10 damage resistance, which is not really a problem at all. And our mutations, we currently do have Adrenal Reaction, which, similar to Nerd Rage, as I said earlier, we're not going to be at low health all the time, but we're basically going to drop health very often. And therefore it's a little boost when the fight goes on. We usually tend to lose some HP and gain some damage in return. Next one is Marsupial. Obvious one. We have higher jumps and carrying capacity, and as we are highly intelligent, we not going to miss this 4 intelligence that much. This is the only mutation that really hurts us a little, but on the offside with the next mutation, Egghead, we're going to get 6 intelligence, so it's fine. As I said earlier, -3 to strength and endurance doesn't do anything to you, as we're basically as low as it gets anyways. So the 4th mutation we do have is Healing Factor, which makes chems less effective, but our health regeneration is plus 300%, which will obviously go pretty well with our regenerating pieces. So the thought behind those is that as we're burning through a lot of stimpaks during fights, it's nice to just have some passive healing going on when you manage to survive a fight and you don't need that extra stimpak to just go back to full health. It's just a little convenience. Honestly, we could use basically anything on the armor. We only need that one auto-stim piece. The rest is up for debate, but I went for regenerating pieces as they tend to be quite cheap, so you have a good chance to snatch a powered version of it for relatively cheap and still have some use from the major effect. The last one I wanted to talk about, the last 2 ones, is Speed Demon, which just increases our reload speed and our general speed, and Bird Bones, which gives us extra agility. Yet again, debuffing our strength, which doesn't really matter to us. And extra agility is nice because it means extra action points, which yet again helps us with VATS. So on to a little gameplay. I've chosen to roam around the top of the world here, for the simple reason that here are clusters of enemies. I'm not sure what's here. Well, low level blood eagles, which are not going to be that interesting. But as you can see, well, it's not like these are enemies that are usually a problem, but you can see how well or not well VATS works. Now in this case it didn't really work all that well. But this is in general how you will going to be fighting. You're going to be on the move most of the time and spamming the VATS button, and once you find something in VATS, you're just going to go for headshots, which you will hit a lot of times due to the fact that you're having pretty high perception. And well, let's hope that up there are higher level enemies. Anyways, at the end I'm going to fast travel to some area with a Scorch Beast probably, or maybe show you the build on some super mutants. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, this yet again are low level Scorched. So I'm sorry you have to stick with me to this. We're going to fast travel. Well, this gives me some time to talk about what I encountered with the build so far. So basically I played it for like an hour or something like that, and what I encountered was that it worked very well when it comes to large groups of enemies, mainly mobs, when they are fairly spread out. So mainly on the outdoors, this build can be very effective. One thing that went surprisingly well in my opinion, was when I was fighting a Scorch Beast. In all fairness, it went down pretty quickly, so I was surprised about that. The only thing I encountered that really was a little bit of trouble was a Sheep Squatch. And this is where the limitations of the build lie. When you basically have a fight where it's going to take a while, so you're not going to finish it within 1 or 2 rounds of VATS, then you're in trouble, because enemies will start to charge you, and you're going to be surrounded pretty easily, going to be bashed, and due to our low endurance, you simply won't take a lot of hits. You do have these failsafes with the auto stim pieces, but you're still trying to kill off enemies quite quickly. So as you can see here, sometimes you're running out of AP, but it's back fairly quickly. And this is one of these occasions where we really can use our VATS crits. So yet again, I felt like this wasn't really a challenge, but this kind of situation here, that's the strength of this build. Like, not that you need a really good build for it in order to deal with such situations, but yeah, this here. You don't even have to search for enemies. Like, VATS does it for you. There we even taken someone out through the wall. So... okay, we left someone. So let's take a hike down to... where is it? Yeah, Harper's Ferry. I think that's where we're going to end our video. And yeah, as you can see here, even yeah, our health is regenerating fairly quickly. So we can show this off by yeah, here. When we're not in a fight, our health comes back pretty much immediately. This is to large parts due to healing factor though, so this is not only the regenerating pieces. I'm not sure if the healing factor mutation does affect the legendary effect as well. Yeah, as to the conclusion of the build, if I had to rank it, I would say it's like maybe a 6 out of 10. For the simple reason that, as I said earlier, if you're encountering tougher enemies that will going to extend the fight, you can be screwed pretty easily. In my opinion, where this build shines, or would shine, is probably in a team, even though you only have 1 charisma. But to be fair, shared perks, unless you're really built to share perks, yeah, I went completely wrong here. Unless you're really built to share perks, it's not going to be the most useful thing. But yeah, you're going to benefit from team players that have the chance to really take on high level enemies like sheep squatches, while you can take on a lot of mobs simultaneously, like really. Yeah, here you can see we have some ghouls, but that was about it. I think some ghoul is on the back side of the building, but let's not care for that at the moment. So I have the feeling we might encounter something at this bridge. And yeah, as I said, we soon are going to reach Harper's Ferry, where we're going to end this video. Well, soon as well. Soon is good. Not that soon, honestly. Yeah, and one thing that I failed to mention so far about the build, when we look at our special stats at the moment, we are at 14 intelligence, which is still pretty high. Admittedly, if you would, yeah, you could go a lot higher, like basically using one cam and not using marsupial would make it so we have like 20, maybe 23 intelligence, but already 14 intelligence is pretty high, so you can level up fairly quickly. And yeah, as you saw with this guy here, I mean, they are kind of squishy, but yeah, you can basically, if you spam the button, the faster fire rate makes it so you can really dish out some DPS with this weapon. As I said though, only to a certain point. And here we go. We are in Harper's Ferry, and I do hope we encounter some super mutants, because that's something we didn't fight so far. I'm sorry, by the way, I'm still trying to find the perfect route to go during these videos, so I have some variety and don't have to fast travel all that much. But unfortunately, pretty much all we encountered so far were scorched enemies. Like literally, except for maybe 2 ghouls or anything. But hey. Okay, let's just jump over the fence here. One thing to note here, due to your high agility, you can definitely start off with some sneak attacks at the start of a fight. However, you will be detected relatively fast, so it's not something you can rely on. It's definitely not a bad choice if you're going to a boss fight like a sheep squatch or a scorch beast, for example. These enemies tend to lose a lot of health when you attack them with stealth, so you can basically get a good start in and finish them off without stealth. As you can see here, we are quite squishy, but we usually manage to end the fight before it becomes a problem. And also, we didn't even proc our first Born Survivor perk, so we weren't really in trouble, even though it looked like it. It's really surprisingly hard to be killed with this build, especially since we only have 1 endurance. It seems like you should die all the time, but you really need enemies that have high DPS. Like one good example is either groups of super mutants or those that wield miniguns if they decide to fire, which they tend to often forget. Okay. Yeah. This is a problem. We're getting crippled quite fast. One thing to note here, as you can see, atomic waste. This happens a lot. Like every time you gooify an enemy, you have a chance to get some nuclear waste out of it, which is practical simply due to the reason that repairing the weapon requires some nuclear waste. But as you're basically producing it due to killing stuff, yeah, not a problem. Okay. I'm sure we will find some super mutants here in Restec. I'm not going to go on the inside, but I'm just clearing out the front so you can see how the damage works out on enemies that are a bit tougher. Especially the armor rating should be a lot higher than with the Scorched. And yeah, that's basically it. Like the Suiciders could actually be a problem. We only have 1 rank of fireproof and we currently don't have a dance chest piece, but it's all fine if we manage to kill them off before they come here. So this wasn't exactly a great start. Yeah, that works better. As you can see here, you do take some shots, so it's not like you're one-shotting enemies left, right, and center. But especially once you're getting the crits, it's not that big of a problem. And here you can see our Bone Survivor and all the stimpies prop. And yeah, here we died. Like, this is what I meant when I said being grouped by DPS enemies. I think super mutants are by far the most dangerous enemy you can encounter with this build, simply because yeah, the DPS basically chews through your health regeneration. But you could mitigate this if you were to make some small changes in order to make stimpaks more effective. This was weird, but in the video you will probably see that I was just aiming very bad. Anyways, it seemed for me as if the scopes were a bit off, but yeah. So, last thing we're going to do is we're going to take the super mutants on the backside. And yeah, as you saw here, you're flimsy. You're basically more of a glass cannon than if you were a bloodied build. This, by the way, isn't far off from a berserker build, if I were to do it. Except for the endurance, I would definitely have more endurance, but in terms of armor, mainly. So here, as you can see, when enemies aren't too much crowded, like if they're fairly evenly spread out, this build really is effective and there's not a lot of damage. And also, one thing to mention, the ammo is quite expensive, but once you develop a habit for collecting things that are using... what was up there? Well, once you form a habit to collect things that do contain copper, it's not that bad actually. Like, I used like 150 copper or something to make 1,000 rounds or anything like that. It's not that bad, as you're crafting pretty much 54 rounds ago with Hammersmith and Super Duper. Well, anyways, this is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed the build, and well, see you next time.